We work in really three fields. We work in collaboration, capacity building, and advocacy. And that's for cultural organizations and individual artists. We play a very direct role in Erie and Niagara counties. We also do some support work in Chautauqua, Cattaraugus, and Allegheny. We administer re-grants for the New York State Council on the Arts for cultural organizations and for individual artists. The next round of grants will be made available later this fall. So along about August, we'll start the training sessions, the information sessions to apply for the grant. They're easy to apply for. We encourage folks to look at them. The way to know about all of this is to get on our email list. Obviously, if you've signed in today, and if you haven't, please do. But that'll put you on there. We don't bombard you with email every other day. We send out 2 monthly emails. One is opportunities. So not just our own, but if we see a call for work, a lot of organizations and businesses will send us employment opportunities, calls for work, grant deadlines. We consolidate all of that into 1 monthly email. The second email is a best practices email, which is meant for both organizations and artists, and it collects research from the field, both here and nationally, just to give you some things to think about and look into further if you'd like. I mentioned advocacy. We work to represent the sector at a local, county, regional, state, and national level. And so some of our recent advocacy has been being New York State captain for National Arts Advocacy Day. And so we were able to take the message not only of New York State arts, but also of Western New York arts, whether it be our economic impact report we just released, samples of work, and take those to Washington and talk to our representatives there, including Congressman Higgins, Congresswoman Slaughter, who's the chair of the Congressional Arts Caucus, and also Senators Schumer and Gillibrand. So we're able to do things like that, go to the National Americans for the Arts Conference. We're on the steering committee of Arts New York State, and that group was instrumental in lobbying and winning an additional $5 million in the New York State Council on the Arts budget for this coming year. So if you're a NISCA-funded agency, or if you are thinking of being one, and that includes our re-grants, there'll be an extra 5 to 20% available depending on what discipline you apply for, and that includes the individual artist commissions they do and we do. Also the New York Foundation of the Arts, NYFA, I don't know if any of you have ever tried to go through them, but they've largely, although they're supposed to be statewide, they've largely been in New York City and have stayed in New York City. And a number of us from across the upstate areas in Western New York went to the New York State Council on the Arts and said that's not good enough. So NYFA is getting on the road starting next year, and they'll be doing 3 artist boot camps outside of New York City, and this area will have 1 of them next year. And again, that's a bit of advocacy that we try to do. We also do one-on-ones. So after you come and learn more about what we do, we'll do sector-wide trainings like this, but we also do small group and we do one-on-one. One thing that we definitely like doing is, again, one of the reasons to sign in, we'll follow up. I mean, the Arts Business Institute has a survey for you to see how they're doing, but we also want to know any topics that were covered or anything else, what you're interested in, delving deeper, whether it be a follow-up with Arts Business Institute, whether it be another speaker. We want to be responsive and make sure that we're covering the topics that you all need and that you all want to see. So that's probably more than enough of the sales pitch. I will say one last thing. I mentioned the Spark Cultural Awards. We do all of what we do for free. So in other communities, there's definitely a charge for this program, but we want to make sure that everyone who needs this has access to it. So we don't charge for anything. That's why we do a fundraiser like Spark. If you can afford to purchase a ticket, please do. If you can't, we also have some free tickets available thanks to sponsors to make sure that we have artists at our event. We don't want this to be a business event that celebrates the arts. So if you're interested in one of those tickets, just shoot us an email and we'll give out as many as we possibly can through that sponsorship. So now to the main event. Oh, I'm sorry, one last thing, one more thing. When you came in addition to the sign-in sheet, there was this sheet, Fractured Atlas. They're a statewide and nationwide organization that, again, works with artists, works with culturals. They have a number of different services, everything from databases you can use for ticketing, all the way up to space finders and even fiscal sponsorship. If you need an organization to sponsor a project that for you to do, where you need to get a grant for it and that needs a sponsor, as soon as you come to one of our events, you're eligible for a free year membership with Fractured Atlas. So I'd encourage everyone to sign up for that. It's absolutely free for a year. After that, it would be $5 a month, but you don't have any obligation to keep going. So at least sign up for it, see what they have to offer. If it's useful to you, go for it. If not, you know, at least it's something you can take a look at. So that's another partnership that we forged to try to help out locally. Now on to the main event. So the Arts Business Institute, we wanted to bring them in. They're national leaders in the field, and they're going to talk to you about 3 topics that's going to help you not create your art, you know how to do that, but how to market, how to sell, how to think differently about your art as a business and a career. We have 2 speakers with us. I will introduce the first of the 2 tonight. So Carolyn Edlund is the Executive Director of the Arts Business Institute. She owned a successful production ceramic studio for 20 years and has worked as a sales rep for art publishers and gift companies. She frequently writes articles on the business of art and authored a popular ABIE course, Marketing for Artists and Craftspeople. Carolyn also works with artists in individual business consultations. And the first topic, as you can see, is get ready to market your art. So with that, please welcome Carolyn.
Good evening, everyone. And please forgive me if I have a hoarse voice. This is day number 3 on our trip teaching the business of art, so I've been speaking for hours every day. But I think it's a small enough room. If you can't hear me, let me know. I also want this to be an interactive type of presentation. So we will take Q&A. We're very open to what you need. And certainly this is a big group of people. Everyone here has different needs. Everybody has a different idea, has a different medium. And we're going to be addressing some general topics, but we'll also be glad to talk about some specific ones as well. Now, as Todd said, I'm the Executive Director of the Arts Business Institute, and what that means is that I work with artists on a daily basis, talking with them about their particular needs and their business, how to structure a business, what their options are, how they can market their work, how they can get out there and get traction, and the ways that successful artists work. First of all, I love the fact that you are not only here as a group, you're as guests of the Arts Initiative, and you're also in a studio atmosphere. These are all arts communities. Every artist needs a community. Artists who work in isolation are far more likely to fail, to fall behind, to not understand what their opportunities are, and to not understand what their options are. So if you're not a member of an arts organization, I would encourage you to join, and I know that Todd would love for you to join his. So I'm going to get started with that. And before I start my slide presentation as well, I want to talk about something that is very, very important to any business. If you are getting started, or if you've already started your arts business and you're having some issues, I've found that although every artist is different, the questions that they ask come up over and over again. They have the same questions. And I think that that's very typical in business. The presentation that I'm going to put on tonight is called Get Ready to Market Your Art. It isn't how to market your art, it's preparing. Because we need to do a lot of preparation on our small businesses before we're really ready to get out into the marketplace. Planning is a big part of it. Before you start your business, or if you haven't done so yet, I want you to think about what the vision you have for your business is. What does it look like when you are doing what you really want? Do you have an idea? Do you have a goal? Do you have a picture in your mind of how your life is going to be? How are you going to be living? And how are you going to be working? Because if you don't have an end point in mind, how are you going to create a roadmap to get there? I talked to an artist just yesterday at the other workshop in a consultation, and she said, I'm going to get into this art and see where it takes me. Someone with that kind of an attitude is going to get pulled off track here and there. They're going to be distracted. There's someone who's going to come along and say, oh, teach this summer class for $300. And she's going to go that way or this way. But when you have that vision and when you do your planning, you are highly focused on where you're going, and you're going to avoid distractions, and you're not going to let people and other things pull you off task, even when it involves making money, and it will enable you to say no to those things that do not fulfill your vision. You have to stay on a pathway that you've created for yourself. That also involves planning. Smart planning is planning that is specific, it is measurable, it is actionable, it is relevant and time sensitive. So that when I say I'm going to make a goal, I don't want to say, gee, I just really want to sell a lot more of my fiber art this year. That is not a goal. That is a vague feeling. A specific goal would be by September 2014, I want to have done 4 shows with my fiber art, and I want to have earned $10,000. That is something I can check off my list. This is really important stuff. When you set your goals, you want to do them for a year, you want to set them for 6 months out, you want to make monthly goals, you may even want to make weekly goals. And back that up to what you can do today and get into action. I talk to people all the time, oh, I want to do this and I'm going to do that. And I check on their website a month later and they've done nothing. The important thing that will keep you in business, that will make you successful, is persistent action every single day. Never stop working on it. Persistent, persistent, persistent. You will make mistakes, you will learn. Hopefully tonight you'll learn some things that you don't need to make mistakes and do first. But it is so important for you in your own journey to make the plan, to work the plan, and to be accountable to yourself based on the goals that you have. Break them down into little bites so that you can check them off. When they're done, you can have the satisfaction of knowing, I have gotten my slides or my images taken. I have got my website complete. Now I have created an online store, or whatever it is that you want to do. So set the big vision for yourself, set those smaller goals for yourself, make your checklist, and back it up to what you can do today, even if it's only looking online for information, making a phone call, or writing down some ideas. Okay, so let's get ready to mark the chart. I'm going to pass out folders, and if you'll do me a favor and just pass these back. If we don't have enough, I have some extras. And then I've got a handout for this particular talk.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Could you pass things back? And also over here. I just created this presentation specially for this group. And so it's pretty much going to follow along with the slides. That's always a good thing. If you can't read, you can always keep it for later. Feel free to take notes. And feel free to ask questions. One of the reasons that I wanted to talk about getting ready to market your art is because it is my belief that it is too easy for artists to get into business today. Now that might sound terrible, and I actually wrote an article about this, and I got a lot of flack, but I maintained my position, and this is why. In today's virtual and online environment, it is very, very easy to get out there and sell. I could decide that today I want to become a watercolor artist, and tomorrow I could have an Etsy shop. People do it all the time. People are in the marketplace, just like that. Back in the day, when I graduated from college back in 1980, you had to go and have slides taken, real slides, and you would submit them and be juried in and have to be accepted because your work was good enough to even enable you to get anywhere where you could show or sell it. And that kind of vetting made you prepare yourself better and more prepared when you were actually in business. But what I find is that I've got people who come to me and, oh, well, I have a store, and they've only ever made 6 pieces of work. Or, I don't know why I'm failing. because they get out there and they're in business too fast and they have not prepared. That's what this presentation is about. In fact, this whole evening is about getting you prepared. When I was in college, my father said something to me that I've always remembered. He said, find out what it is that you love to do and then find a way for people to pay you to do it. And I did that. And it really has made all the difference. I'm assuming that everyone here has found what it is that they love to do. And Wendy Rosen and I are here tonight to help you find a way for people to pay you to do just that. Now let's talk about getting ready to market. What does an artist need before they're ready to market and before they're ready to sell? First of all, you need a body of work. Now, I was looking at an artist's work just the other day. She showed me her website. She's a student over at Alfred University. And she's a lovely person, but she's a student. She is a senior. And her portfolio has clay and fiber and printmaking and sketches in it. And that is fine as a student portfolio. That is not fine if you are in business selling your work. Your body of work needs to be cohesive. It needs to make a statement. It needs to be in a distinctive signature style. And you need to have thought it through well enough that you understand what it is that you make, why you make it, and why it's different from everyone else. If you are in business and you're doing knitting and photography and a little bit of painting, then as your customer, I'm like, what does she really do? Is she a hobbyist? Is she serious? Is she trying to figure something out? Did something not work out? She moved to something else? Think about it. Do people want to buy from amateurs? No, they don't. They want to buy from experts. They want to buy from people who are really good as artists. So when you are creating your body of work, and we'll get a little bit of this in the next talk as well, going deeply into this, I want you to understand that your body of work has to have such a signature style that if I line everything up on the wall, that every person walking in would know that the same artist had made every piece. They have elements that are running through them. This is basic stuff if you've been through art school, you know this, right? In building your portfolio. Your body of work should have that cohesive collection. I'm going to show you Houston Liu over here on the left. Not only does Houston Liu have a collection which is cohesive, he has a group of work that is collectible. If we want people to buy from us more than once, and repeat business builds business, we want people to collect what we make. How does he make his work collectible? It all works together. It is in the same size. It is in a modular size. It is even shown together as a suggestion that these are pieces that should be hung in a group. They're collectible because his images have very specific meanings. Here's one that's 2 champagne glasses that might be celebrating your wedding. On the side of each of his tiles, which is, and I believe that these are enamel on metal, he has words. They might say something like congratulations. They might say something like freedom, or they might have a very important word, something very important in life. His work works together so that you can buy pieces as you go through your own life at special times. They run around $85 a piece, but they're very collectible. Is your work collectible? Do you have pieces that go with other things? Can you cross-sell, and can you group things when you're making a sale of your work? Now over here on the right is Dermot O'Brien. He's got a very distinctive style because he works with wood and light. He carves wood and he puts lights inside of them. So he's got a really unusual approach. Is what you do unusual? Is it special, and can you tell me why? Or is it derivative? When we start making art, when we get in there in class, when we're in school, we learn by copying. We look at other things and we paint what the teacher's showing us. We look at art history and we copy, and that's how we learn technique and skill. But then when an artist has their own body of work, they go deeply into one direction, they need to create a body of work that is theirs alone, that is going to stand out. If you want to market your art, you need something that people haven't seen over and over again. This is one of the problems, again, when you get out there on Etsy, everyone's copying everybody else. And then everybody gets worried about price. Oh, so-and-so here is, her price is lower, so I need to lower mine even more. And they're in a death spiral to the bottom where nobody makes any money. Your concept is something that you should be able to talk about. What is it about your particular work, your artwork, your craft work, that is memorable? Share your vision with your audience in your marketing materials by telling a story. Stories are so important to everyone. That's why we read books, that's why we watch movies. Everyone loves stories. And they want to know about you because as an artist, you're actually a very fascinating person to them. Those people that you're selling to, their jobs are really boring and they're actually jealous that you're doing something that they kind of would like to do if they could, but they figure they can't. So they're taking the subway and they're wearing a suit and they're working in a cubicle. And on their wall is a beautiful piece of art that is an escapism from their everyday life. People who are doing creative things like you are fascinating to them. No matter how boring it may be to you, or no matter how frustrating it is that you're driving a 10-year-old truck and you can't afford your next booth fee. Don't share that information. Let's keep it upbeat because we want to tell our story in a fascinating way. So, what drives you? What inspires you? What process did you invent? Talking about your process not only shows people what your work is and attracts them in a visual way, but talking about your process reaches those people who have those left brain inclinations, particularly men. How'd you make that? How'd you do that? What tools are you using? Well, I invented this fiber burnout process, and this is how I do it. Now, you don't have to give away all your secrets, but process is fascinating to people. And when you show them that you have a very specific, involved process that has many steps and takes a lot of expertise, you build value in your work. And they understand that it is worth what you are charging. I spoke to an artist recently down where I live in Florida. I walked through a show, and I was looking at her sign. And her signage was saying, fiber art digitally altered. Why? Because no one knew what she made. That was drawing people in who were like, what is that? Oh, I originally work with cloth. I originally do batik. And then I photograph it. And then I Photoshop it. And then it's on this giclée canvas. And she explains the process. There was another artist at the same show. He's a glass blower. That's really interesting stuff. People have no idea how it's done, and they love it when you show them. It builds your expertise, and it builds your authority, and it also, again, creates value in their minds because they know that they could never do it. How many people here are photographers? Do you know that everybody in the world is going to say, my son can do that? And you're like, oh, brother. But when you tell them, yes, this is a photograph, but it wasn't just taken with my smartphone. I'm using different filters, and I'm digitally altering it, and I'm waiting for the golden hour, and I'm doing this and that, and I'm up in, I'm in Nepal or wherever you're taking those images. Tell your story. How do you tell your story? Well, if you haven't thought about this before, I would suggest that you sit down and write down a long story. What inspired you? How did you get involved? How long have you been doing this? What really unusual things do you use? Hone that story down to where you can tell it in a minute, 30 seconds. Pull out those highlights that people want to hear over and over again. And when people hear your story, it becomes part of the experience of them buying your art. Your story and your creative spirit are part of every piece of art. Otherwise, why don't they just go to Walmart and buy something? They want to buy something from you because you're very special. People love to say, yes, I bought the sculpture, and I know the artist. It builds them up. It makes them collectors. And that makes them feel better. That's something fantastic to put in their home or their office, and it's going to instill those really good feelings when they see it. When you're making a sale, you need to understand who you're speaking to when you're going to market your work. So you need to know who your audience is. I'm going to ask you to do a really quick exercise right now. Just close your eyes and just imagine who that ideal customer is. Think about it. Who's the perfect customer for you? All right, open your eyes. How many people have an idea of the perfect customer for them? About half of people here. So you already intuitively know. Women buy from me. Couples buy from me. Seniors buy from me. Jewish people buy from me. Depends on what you have. Okay, so those people, that knowledge of who those people are is going to start you on your journey of honing down who that perfect person is. Because 95% of the people out there are not going to buy from you. They go to Walmart, they go to Target, or they order online, and they don't buy original art, and they don't buy handmade craft. So you have a very narrow group, 5% of people who do it, right? That's good. We can eliminate everybody else, and we're going to highly focus on those people who are our customers. How do we know who they are? If you're out in a situation where your work is at the gallery, you're at the opening, perhaps you have an open studio event, maybe you are here at the Foundry and you're selling your work and retail customers are coming in, or perhaps you're at a booth, at your booth at a fair. Who are the people who are showing interest? Why are they liking what you have? Ask them questions. Where are you from? Where do you work? What do you do? What draws you to my art? And start connecting with what those people care about. So we're going to get an understanding of who our customer is. We can't create any marketing materials without understanding who we're speaking to. Marketing isn't a general thing. It's a very specific thing. Every big company knows exactly who buys from them. And they create whole marketing campaigns for those people. They might be parents, they might be seniors, whoever their customers are. They know who they are targeting. Do you know who you're speaking to when you're talking about your work? Who responds to it? And when you tell your story, you need to talk about them. Because what does everybody care about the most? Themselves. That's exactly right. And there's nothing wrong with that. I am willing to bet you that every person here is here because they feel they may gain something for their own business, right? You're not here to hear about my kids or my dog. You couldn't care less. And it's my pleasure to be here to serve you, and it's really an honor to work with artists and to be of service and assistance to them. And as an artist, I think that you'll find when people love your work and they buy from you, it's very fulfilling, it's very satisfying. And it's really an honor to work with people who truly appreciate you and people that you're going to get to know because you want to sell to them again, because repeat business builds business. Okay, so what do your customers care about and what do they value? There are ways for you to tap into things given what you make. Your work is handmade. That might be important to them to begin with. Your work might fit into a niche. Maybe it's related to their religion. Let's go back to that potential Jewish customer. If you make Judaica, if your work is something that they might put on the table at Passover, maybe you're creating something very expensive because it's an heirloom, their children will inherit it, it is a very important thing to them, it is going to be passed down. Perhaps those are going to be used on the table in the only day of the year that everyone gets together. This is a very emotionally important thing to your customer. And it may even be that you're charging such high-end prices that you have a husband and a wife who both need to make that decision. If that's the case, then you need to know that your customers are couples and that you have more than one decision maker. And if that is the case, and the wife walks up to you at your booth, you will know that her not buying from you at that particular time may only be a sign that this is the beginning of your particular sales cycle, which ends in you contacting her again after the show, sending her an email with a photo of the pieces she was interested in, and asking if maybe you could meet her husband and her at another time privately where you may close the sale. Or maybe you'll be reaching out to her with your email marketing campaign. So you need to come to know in your own business, how do people buy from me? Do I have an impulse item? Do I have something that's easy to buy? Do I have something that's very difficult to buy? And what is stopping that sale? All right, let's talk a little bit more about getting ready. Oh, you know what? I forgot one thing I want to go over. Customer benefits. Again, what is important to customers, what they care about most. Let me give you an idea of what a benefit is. This scarf is hand-painted silk and is hand-washable. That's the feature. What is the benefit? You do not have to pay for dry cleaning bills. Feature. This photograph is a gallery-wrapped clay. Benefit, you don't have to pay to frame this thing. That is what is important to them. So throughout your marketing process, you're going to think, what are the objections that people have? They want to know, is this breakable? How much does this cost to ship? Can I return it? Do you gift wrap? How long will it take me to get it? If I commission something from you, do I get to approve it? What if I don't like it? All these questions come up, right? So you need to have answers for those, and a lot of them will be in your marketing material. You might head those objections off at the very beginning by saying, 30-day approval, completely returnable. I offer gift cards, free repairs. This is how much it's going to cost to ship, set shipping fee, that kind of thing. Do you have those items figured out in your own business? Do you know those things? Your customers will need to know those at some point. And if they don't know them in the initial marketing material that you share with them, you're going to need to provide that information at the point of sale, whether it is when you're standing in front of them or perhaps on your website where you're selling to them. And always build your list. If you are at a show, do you have a guest book that's out? Please join my email marketing list or my email list, and I will share my newest work with you. On your website, do you have a subscriber opt-in form? Please subscribe to my monthly email and get free shipping on your first order. You might offer another incentive. We hate spam too. We will never share your email address to give people that comfort level signing up. Now we've got our body of work. That's all put together. You've got a signature style. It looks great. What's the next thing you need? Images. Everybody needs images of their work. Your presentation is so important. I jury hundreds of artists a year for various reasons. And so I see a lot of images. And I will tell you that actually you're very fortunate, I think, coming to something like this and hearing that 85% of the artists out there don't know what they're doing, have terrible images, and really need to learn to present better. The benefit to you is that you can go out and get outstanding images of your work, which is going to get you traction online, it's going to get you in magazines and newspapers, it's going to get you juried in, and it's going to make you sales. Because presentation is so important. Whether you're getting juried, or whether you're using it as marketing material, you have to have a gorgeous presentation. Julie Shaw's work. She's an amazing artist from Kentucky. And this is, would you agree, a jury shot? Would you agree that's a jury shot? A gradient background, gorgeous lighting, professional photography. What are other kinds of images that you're going to need to get ready for marketing? Well, you're going to need some detail shots. And here's why. On the left, you'll see two pieces of work by potter Charan Thatcher. He's an artist from India who's very inspired by the fabrics that his mother used to work with when he was a child in India, that had these beautiful colors and details to them. And he uses slip trailing in his hand-built ceramic work, which has a texture to it. The detail shot on the right is showing you up close and personal. Can't you almost feel that texture? When you show detail shots of your work, you're sharing a lot more information with people, especially when they are not in front of you and they can't touch what you make. When you're sharing it online, when you're showing it in the press, when you're showing it in a magazine article, detail shots are very important. I want you to imagine if you were shopping online and you went to one of these big websites like Zappos. Anybody ever buy shoes on Zappos? It's a very popular site. If you go on Zappos, you're going to look at shoes. And they're going to show you a bunch of images. You're going to see the top of the shoes and the side of the shoes, and the bottom of the shoes and the stitching on the shoes and the laces on the shoes and the different colors of the shoes. Because you are virtually trying them on because you can't be there to try the shoes on. And the more images you see and the more information you get, the more comfortable you feel about making that purchase. How many times have you shopped online and you're like, yeah, that's really interesting. Oh yeah, here's the close-up. Oh, that's what that was. You know, maybe. Let me see this one. Oh yeah, I like that color. Look at that. You know, I'm going to buy that. And then you are ready. You have gained that comfort level because enough information's been shared with you. When you show your work in other types of photos, you're also going to be making suggestions to your customers. When you use in situ photos, which show art in the environment where it should be seen, you are going to turn photographs of art like this into a presentation like this. Wow. How has this changed your perspective? I'm looking at this woman's artwork. This is Paula Ogier. Now I know that despite whatever she told me about the dimensions, I know the scale of the work. I know the impact on the room. I have suggestions for framing. And what has Paula Ogier just done? Is she selling me a piece of art? She is selling me two pieces of art because I know that these two pieces are perfect complements to each other. And if I saw this photo, I would buy both, would you? Are you now doing that by showing your work in groupings? By showing pieces that work together? Are you showing sets and groups? Is your work collectible? In situ photos help share your work with a suggestion to where it belongs. This work belongs in a living room. Does your work belong in a corporate office? Does your work belong in a kitchen? Suggest to your customers where they might put your work by using in situ photos. This works all the time. This is why HGTV is so popular. Everyone watches the decorating shows because they want to do things like what are shown on the shows. You look at a fashion model in a spread. Oh, and below, here's where you can buy the coat, here's where you can buy the watch, here's where you can buy the shoes. This is what the ensemble looks like together. People love that. Do you show your work that way when you display it? Is your booth set up? Do you use in situ? And the other type of photos that you need are marketing photos. Marketing photos are photos that could be in a magazine. And this is Jonathan Simon's pie server. He makes handmade wooden spoons in Pennsylvania. He has a very successful business. I believe he's got 10 employees working full-time making these. He actually has several brands. Would you agree with me that you might see a photo like this in a magazine? Would this be appropriate for a magazine, you think? If you have a photo of this caliber of your own work, you are ready to have it go in the magazine. If your images are poor, no magazine will take it because they don't want to devalue their publication by showing crummy photos. Okay, so we have our body of work and we have our presentation. And next, we're going to talk about you and your story. Who is the expert on your work? You are. So you are now all experts. When you build your authority, you tell people that you are an expert. And as I mentioned earlier, people don't want to buy from amateurs. They want to buy from experts. If I want to get brain surgery, I am not going to go to a doctor who could operate on my brain, my elbow, and sell me real property. I want to go to a brain surgeon. I want to go to a specialist. It makes me cringe when I look on an artist's blog and they say, oh gee, I really wish I could sell my work. I only sold one piece at the show last week and I wish somebody would buy from me. Does this inspire us to have confidence in buying? No, not really. So we're going to raise the bar, give that professional presentation, and we're going to give our resume, our experience, and show our authority and our credentials through our presentation and the way that we talk about ourselves in our marketing. Do you teach? Have you written a book? Have you written an article? Have you invented a process? Is there an original technique that only you use and that you've become really good at and nobody else does? Have you been in the press? Has anybody here had their work shown in a show, in an exhibition? Have you been on the cover of a magazine? All of that needs to go in your marketing material because it builds your authority. Next, we're going to talk about your website. How many people in this room have a website for your art? Okay, about half? About half? All right, it doesn't matter to me whether you have a website right now or not, because if you don't, well then we're going to talk about some good things that you're going to need on your website, and we'll avoid all of those mistakes that everybody else in here made before they fixed them, right? So, the truth is today that if you don't have a website, then you're basically invisible. The marketplace in this day and age is global. I know artists who sell their work all over the world because people can see it online. Not only that, but your website is your 24/7 headquarters. Yes?
By website, do you mean like a specific site just for your art or something like another shop?
That's a great question. Her question is, am I talking about your own website, or am I talking about a presence on an online shop, say if you have an Etsy shop, or if you're on BigCommerce, or Square Market, or something like that? What I would really like to see every artist have is their own website, and here's why. When you have your own website, you have control. When you are on a third-party site like Etsy, what happens when Etsy decides to change the rules, or they decide to kick you off, or they go out of business? You're gone and you have no control. I know someone, I talked to her like 2 weeks ago, she said, I was doing all this business on Etsy and they shut me down. And until I could prove that I made things myself in my studio, I was out of business. So you may make your shopping cart your Etsy shop, or you might use, any other of many sites as your shopping cart. But I really would like to see artists open their own website. There are third-party template websites like IndieMade and Weebly and Fine Art Studio Online and Folio Twist, where you can go and brand it and they'll give you 3 or 4 pages, and you fill it in, but you don't need to be a programmer, and you don't need to hire a web developer or webmaster. In fact, this website, which is Michael Windsor's, he's an artist from Canada, lives up in Newfoundland. This website is on artstorefronts.com, and he has built his site there. I am not online right now, but if we went to his site there, the reason he chose that particular vendor is because he can sell his photographs, and you can put them in a shopping cart, and you can look at different mats, and you can look at different frames, and you can look at different wall colors, and you can look at it in different rooms, because it is showing you in situ photos, because that's how work is sold, and he wanted the benefit of all of that technology. Okay, so he does have his own branded website. He's just using them as his host. Now let's look through a checklist, and this should be on your paper. I think it is. Yeah. All right. We just looked at wait a minute. This is a website that has a huge image right on the front that is wow. Right off the bat. I want to see more. This is an amazing piece of art. It's, yes?
What was his last name?
His last name is Windsor, Winsor. His site is michaelwindsor.ca because he's Canadian. And actually, I looked at his site the other day, and I'm not sure if my computer was slow or if his site wasn't working quite right, but I couldn't seem to put something in a shopping cart. It might have been my computer, so definitely check it out. If you have a huge, impactful photo of your own artwork right up front, and you're going to wow the visitor, and you're going to invite them in, you're going to have more people more interested in seeing what you have to offer. Invite them in. I've seen home pages that one of them was a potter that said, my work is in stoneware clay, and I would like my pottery to become part of your everyday life. He speaks directly to the viewer. The visitor to your website should be part of the conversation. The About page that you build on your website is about you, but it is also about them. So you might give them reasons to buy from you. My work is modular. It can be hung in quads. It can go into vertical spaces. It can go into horizontal spaces. It's perfect for a kitchen. My work is great as a gift. It comes in one size. It's versatile. It's lightweight. It's returnable. What are the benefits? They should be shared. Why do people want to buy from you? Share that on your About page. Your artist website needs to have really easy navigation. Maybe 4 or 5 different pages at the top on the navigation bar. Home, About, Gallery, Contact, and FAQ. I love that one, FAQ. Your gallery might have a drop-down list. You might have collections, landscapes, still lifes, portraits. Or your drop-down might be chronological. Your work from 2012, 2013, 2014, and 15, showing different collections. If you work in several different mediums and they really don't work together, you might want more than one website. If you're doing knitting and you're doing photography, it's going to clash. Now, I'm not saying that artists can't work in different mediums. I mean, we all know that Picasso certainly did paintings, and he also did ceramics. But they all flowed in his own unique signature style. If your work is like that, you might show it all on the same website together. When we have a website with a gallery to it, and I suggest that you consider WordPress if you're going to start your own website because it's free and you can get a host like HostGator or Bluehost or GoDaddy, and you can set it up very easily. It's intuitive. That you use a theme that is made for artists. So you might shop at Theme Forest or another vendor of different website themes for WordPress. And some of them are perfect for artists because there'll be a slideshow with a gallery, and each picture will enlarge. I think you know what I'm talking about. I'm not online, I'm not looking at this directly with you, but do you know what I'm talking about when I click on that picture and it's going to enlarge? And then I also like to see those in situ and detail shots of your work so that I can get more visual information about it. And I really want to see FAQ, you know, how long does it take to ship to you? How much does it cost? How do you commission my work? What is the process, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. I love to see artists have shopping carts. That's your e-commerce solution. And prices. If you don't have a price on your work, how many people are going to call you up and say, oh, I love your painting. How much is it? $800? If you at least tell them how much you charge for your work, then they are going to know whether it is within their budget or not, and they will self-opt out if it isn't. Now, if you are working with an art gallery and they do not wish for you to be sharing prices online, you're going to direct any viewers to the gallery with a link online. But otherwise, I think you should at least list your price range. And I'd like to see you have a shopping cart. And an opt-in to your email subscription list. You need a social media presence. If you are on any social media at all, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Instagram is a really popular new one that's coming up. You don't have to do them all. Choose the ones that you feel comfortable with and run with those. But be consistent and build your network. Networking means that we're interacting with other people. It's not blasting out information and ads all day on Twitter. It's getting into conversation. It's sharing information with other people. It's sharing their information. So what we're doing in building our network through social networks is to give links to our website, and we're going to build search engine optimization for search to our website in as specific terms as you can. There's an artist that, I mean, if you wanted to use a search term like jewelry, you are never getting on the front page of Google. But if you have a very unusual type of jewelry and you tag that together, if you have dragonfly jewelry, that might be something that you'd want to go for with a keyword. I know an artist who's a painter. He was on the eastern shore of Maryland, near the bay, and he did a lot of paintings of the wetlands down there, and he was using marshland as his keyword. He was a marshland artist. So that people who might be interested in duck hunting, or they might live on the eastern shore, when they Googled that word, he would come up. We're going to be using networking strategies like following other people. Do you want to connect with some galleries or some stores you might want to sell to? Follow them. Make comments. Make insightful and interesting comments on their pages in response to what they have. And invite them to like your page as well. LinkedIn. Is everyone here on LinkedIn? Is anyone here on LinkedIn? It's a very serious business network for people who are doing business, and it's a great place to get traffic from. I looked at my own analytics and noticed that even though Facebook drives the most, people from LinkedIn stay the longest. If you have a website, you definitely want to install Google Analytics so that you can find out where is your traffic coming from, what are they clicking on, what pages are they going to, and so forth. Perfect. All right. In your networking, you need to be consistent. Every day, you need to be persistent. Marketing is an activity that for artists can be 30 or 40% of your work, but you might want to schedule that. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm going to post on Facebook. I'm also going to go on Instagram. I'm going to like some new people, and I'm going to drive some more traffic. You need to stay persistent and keep your business page separate from your personal page. I follow with artists all the time. I'll follow their links to their Facebook page, and it's a personal page, and it's really a shame to see that. I don't want to scroll down through images of their family picnic to find a piece of their art. Your art belongs on its own business page. And lastly, you're going to want to cultivate your collectors. That means when you get a lead, follow up, follow up, follow up. Understand your sales cycle. If it is that situation where one person has a spouse, for instance, who is a second decision maker, you're going to follow up and you're going to close the sale later. Be prepared for this. That's part of understanding your customers. So as you get that experience with them, listen and look and see, what is the case for you. Spread your price points so that you can allow new collectors to buy in at a lower level. You might do this by having lower priced items, reproductions if you're a 2D artist, smaller pieces if you're a jewelry artist. They might love the big necklace, but they'll buy the smaller jewelry, the smaller earring. Price points will be lower. Make your work collectible. Repeat customers are 5 times easier to sell than new customers. Stay in touch with your buyers. If someone signs up for your email list, especially if they have purchased from you, I'd like to see you email them from a MailChimp, at least, that's free, from an email service provider on a monthly basis. Introduce your new work, talk about your next sale, tell them what's going on, show work in progress. And encourage repeat sales, because repeat business builds business. Ask them for referrals. Who else might really love your work? Now, to wrap this particular presentation up, to get more customers and close more sales, you want to make sure to follow up with everybody, offer incentives to buy from you, diversify your price points, speak directly to your customers, give them tons of information, make it easy for them to buy from you, and then stay in touch with them to make it easy for them to buy from you again. Now, are there any questions? I've just thrown like 50,000 pieces of information at you. Are there any other questions about anything that we talked about in this hour? None? I see you're busy writing. That's a good sign, yes.
Could you talk a little bit about adding a blog to your website?
Sure. I think that blogging is really important. It's a way for you to continue to tell your story all the time. But if you're not going to keep up with your blog, don't. You need to decide when you're planning, how often am I going to blog? Am I going to blog every 2 weeks? Am I going to blog every week? Stay with it. There's nothing worse than looking on a website and finding out that November 2011 was the last entry. You look like you're out of business, and if that's the case, just take it off your site. But when you blog, you get subscribers to your blog, you're going to post it on Facebook, and you're going to talk about your process or anything else. Another thing that you can do is, if I'm another artist with a similar audience that you have, you and I can blog about each other and drive our own subscribers to our friends' site. And so we can kind of grow our audience organically like that.
And you recommend WordPress for that as well?
I recommend WordPress because it's free, and it's a fantastic blogging platform. Okay, anybody else? Great, excellent. Okay, do you have your plugin? Okay.
So we'll take a
We're going to
little
take a break
Yep.
first. Sure. One more question?
You talked about the shipping prices and all that. Should you try to work in shipping prices and costs of goods?
Absolutely. Great question. I actually have another presentation on sales, but I want to address this right now. The question has come up, what about shipping prices? People hate shipping. Shipping is horrible. Nobody wants to pay for shipping, right? Especially if it's heavy. So, when you are putting together your pricing, if you can include that in your price and offer free shipping, that is a huge incentive for people to buy from you. Or when they place their first order, put a coupon in that says, thank you so much for ordering from me. Here is a coupon for free shipping on your second order. And here's a second coupon. The second coupon is for you to give to a friend for them to get free shipping. Because I'd like some referral business. So that would be a great way to deal with shipping. Anybody else? Okay, we're going to take 15 minutes.